Hi, ThatPaulGuy. And today we're going to wrap up the part 2 of Megahertz, Gigahertz, and Terabytes on my. And that's kind of what's going on inside your computer. And so we're going to start that right now. Okay, so I thought a lot about how to try to do this, and I just figured, you know what? I'm not going to worry about what frequency this is going at, what frequency that's going at, how to explain this or how to explain that. You've got a couple of working parts inside your computer. Your motherboard has some things attached to it that are pretty important. Now, we already talked about the CPU, which is the brains of the operation. It does a lot of stuff. And the GPU, which does one job very, very well over and over and over. Well, that's just displaying everything. But you've got some other things going on in there too. Each motherboard has a chipset, and it will be identified by, probably in most cases, both Intel and AMD are labeling theirs by like a letter and a number. I'm not going to try to confuse you with any of that, but that's just how they identify their boards. And that will kind of tell you what will fit into that. Long story short, the things that will fit into that are going to be memory, your CPU, your GPU, and things that connect like fans, hard drives, etc. So one of the things we talked about, memory. Now, the memory slots in there, those are going to be those little long things. There's going to be either 2 or 4 slots, and they'll be right near your CPU. You'll be able to find them. That is for short-term memory. That is, you meet somebody on the street, they tell you your name, and then you forget their name 5 minutes after they told it to you. So it's very short-term. If you're web browsing, if you're doing something and the computer shuts off, you lose it. So that's not meant to be kept up with. If you're doing light work, like web browsing, checking your email, and just some simple stuff like that, you might use, say, as little as 4 gigabytes. I'm not going to try to explain everything out yet, but 4 gigabytes if you're doing very, very light work. Most computers that are being sold, laptops and stuff like that, the sweet spot seems to be about 8 gigabytes. And that's enough to keep a lot of things going on in your computer. It's enough to do some gaming, and it's enough to have several things going on at one time. You've got a Word document you're working on. You're browsing. Say you're browsing your sources, and you're trying to find out what your sources are with a Chrome browser or something like that that's open, and you've got music playing in the background or something. That should be enough, more than enough to handle that. If you're a heavy gamer, or say you're editing videos or something like that, you might have as much as 16, maybe even a little bit more, but that's probably a good area for that, 16 gigabytes. So again, the size of that depends on what kind of workload that you're working with. Something that's a little bit more long-term is hard drives. There's 2 different types of hard drives, or the 2 main types of hard drives. One of them is a mechanical drive, and the other is a solid-state drive. And you'll typically see those called HDD for hard disk drive, or SSD for solid state drive. They keep up with stuff the same way. You can put photos, you can put music and all that stuff on them, and they will stay there. The way they do that's a little bit different. Like I said, the mechanical drive is different from the solid state drive, and the solid state drive is going to be quite a bit faster. Right now, they're also a little bit more expensive, but you can get the same capacities in each of those drives. Most drives right now, say notebooks and new computers, are coming with either 500 gigabytes, or 1 terabyte. 1 terabyte is fast becoming a standard, and that's something that's just easy to divide by, where you can kind of figure out easily. A terabyte will hold about 2 million pictures on it. It'll also hold about, hold about 2 million pictures, or it'll hold about 200,000 songs. Hold a variety of in between, it'll hold games and stuff like that. But that's more of your long term. That's the stuff that's supposed to stay there for a while. And so that covers that. So you got your short term memory, you got your long term memory. We talked in an earlier video about your CPU and your GPU. Now those are kind of important, and just because you have, just because you see the nice fancy, $700 box in the store, doesn't mean that's what you need to buy. You need to make sure that your CPU and your GPU kind of play well together, and that's a little bit of a dance, but it takes probably just a little bit of information to be able to get those things straight. But if you've got, say, a central processing unit that just does everything, including making sliced bread, but your graphics card isn't all that hot, then you're going to have your CPU just feeding as much information as it can to something that's not ready for it. So you've got something called a bottleneck. The other way around too, if you've got a GPU that's just, I mean, hotter than tamales and it's running full speed and it's much better than your CPU, you're also going to have a bottleneck because your GPU is going to be waiting on information from the CPU, and that processor can't give it information fast enough for it to be able to do what it wants. So again, you have a bottleneck. And remember, a chain is only as strong as its weakest link. So if your CPU is not very good, it doesn't matter how good your GPU is, and vice versa. Whatever the worst piece of equipment or the slowest piece of equipment or whatever, that's going to be the one, that's where you're going to be. You're not going to get any better or faster than that would be able to handle. So like I said, I threw out all the frequencies and threw out all that stuff. We're mainly talking about the short-term memory, the long-term memory, and how well the GPU and CPU play with each other. We can delve into a few other things as we go forward, but I kind of wanted to, instead of trying to confuse everybody with a lot of frequencies and a lot of big numbers and all that stuff, we're just going to cover the basics. So that's it for that. If you got any questions or any specific things, feel free to leave me comments. I'll be glad to try to answer them or find somebody that can for you. As always, thumbs up, thumbs down. You can hit that red subscribe bar. The bell icon will tell you when I'm doing more of these videos. And the videos like this, the building blocks series, I'll always try to label building blocks and then whatever the subject is. I'll put another one of these out next week, and of course I'll have a video over the weekend that's just, you know, general goings on, and I'll try to wrap up a review of a headset that I bought. So until next time, folks, I hope that clears a few things up. If it didn't, like I said, please leave me comments and I'll try to clear it up for you. But other than that, until the next time, folks, we'll see you later.